Tonight, just wanted to go over just a couple basic things how you make a KML file for Google Earth. Just going to go over a couple other little parts to just doing a small job that someone topos. So I've already started this one, but I'm gonna export some of this stuff just to kind of start fresh. Anytime you want to export within Business Center, always Home, Export, and VCL, Project Link Explorer. That's how you exchange files between Business Center. So I'm in the Project Explorer tab, and I'm clicking on the surface and the image file. So I'm just going to export it, and then I'm going to go find it. Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to bring the image in because it's not reading it. Just because of the file folder structure. So I'm just going to use this plot box. Go to images, capture. So under images in PDF, you can just use the capture image command. Then what that does is I'm going to go to my Project Explorer, delete out the other image that didn't show up. And it didn't show up just because I'm switching it between Business Center files, and it's got to have a home inside of a saved folder, and I just don't want to take the time to do that. If you set up a job and save it to begin with, and then reference an image, it'll show up. So here you just you want to delete the KML because it's generated. You want to grab the image file and the world file, the two that are made, and it should bring it right in the same spot. So one thing that's important is this job was topoed in state plane coordinate system. So Google Earth uses the 1983 datum on their 1983 coordinate system. So the topo was done with that using this was in New York, it was using the CORS network, local base stations. So this topo will go into Google Earth. That's where I got the image from. So this one I'm going to make one thing I just want to show some of the options of a surface. So if you highlight the surface, so show in plan view. So let's not show the wireframe. Let's show shading by elevation. Then that's a little bright. We've got an image behind it. So let's go here to transparency and let's change it to 70%. I can turn slope arrows on too. So that just gives you basically a heat map of your elevations. I don't do elevation grids very often. I forget how to do them. Oh, I'm gonna guess it's right here. Create a surface elevation grid. So this is just a topo at a farmer's property. So we can put some elevations in here by going to that under the surfaces tab. Go to elevation grid. I'm gonna do a spacing every 15 feet to the nearest 100th. So the text size looks pretty good. The spacing's probably a little too tight. So I'm going to click on that elevation grid, and I'm going to change the spacing from 15 to 25. That spaced it out a little bit. Let's change this to. So here's another quick trick. I think Alan Sharp showed me this in the TBC forums. If you want this text to stay white, even if you change your background color, so when you switch that background color, it switches all the text from between black and white depending on your background. But when I got an image here, I don't really, I'd actually rather. Well, I'm gonna turn this text back to white. So turn it to the actual color white. When the background's black, the text will be white, but if I switch the background down here, it's going to switch that text to black. Black doesn't look very good on these dimmed images. I'd rather have it white, but the problem is when I go to plot it, it's going to default to a white background, or when you plot it, it defaults to what would happen with a white background, and it's going to make this black, which I'd rather it be white. So I'm going to undo that. And then I'm gonna click back on the elevation grid. It highlights all of them, and I'm gonna change this to the custom. So you're down to more colors. Red, green, blue, 240, 240, and 240 is just off white enough that Business Center will not switch that color. So if I switch the background, it switches some other stuff, but it's not switching that text. And then there's actually a text that I found recently that plots better with Business Center's basic plotting function. So I'm going to change this to that. So it's this font right here. It just plots a little bit better. So I made a quick elevation grid. This surface was just a topo. I edited it a little bit. You can see I've added some break lines and boundary. I brought the image in from Google Earth. Now this I can send to someone and plot it to scale. I don't have this. Yeah, I don't have a plot box in here, but if I were to plot this, it would actually look pretty good. But what I really want to show is I want to dig a little bit into the command for Google Earth, which if you go to images and PDF, so I'm going to turn the surface off, I'm going to turn the image off, and I'm not sure if it'll plot this elevation grid in Google Earth, but you can just try it. It's really easy to switch it up. It'll definitely bring the lines in, it'll bring the points in, which actually I don't want to see any points. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to uncheck show disconnected points. Disconnected meaning they're not part of anything, a surface or whatnot, so uncheck that, and I'm going to try to see what this does. Maybe the elevation grid might not work, but let's see what it does in Google Earth. So if you highlight it and under your image and PDF tab, there's this Google Earth button. Nope. So if we click that, it gives you an adjustment for northing and easting. If you want to adjust it a little bit north and south, depending on, or east and west, depending on how close it is to actual when you bring it into Google Earth. So I'm just going to see what happens here. Let's hit apply. Alright, we have a problem. I'm not in the Atlantic Ocean on this job. So it looks like the elevation grid actually came in really nice. So why am I in the Atlantic Ocean, close to Africa? Well, it's a coordinate system issue. So that's not going to work. Let's go back to TBC. So what do I have to do in order to get this to show up in the correct spot? Well, I need to change this coordinate system of the project to the one that it was topoed in. So I'm going to go over my settings up top. I'm going to come to coordinate system and hit change. I've got some recent ones, but I'll go over here, start from scratch. So I want to start with the United States State Plane 1983, which is the most common current coordinate system. This is what it was topoed in, that state plane coordinate system, using local base station network. It's New York West. Just going to hit next. There's no geoid model. That shouldn't matter for Google Earth. That's just elevations, height. Hit OK. Highlight this again. This in Business Center makes it really easy. And we just highlight it, click the Google Earth button. We're not going to make any adjustments now. And I want to hit altitude. Of course, we deal in elevations, but Google Earth talks in altitude. Clamp to ground. That means that when we, I'll show why you clamp it to ground, but let's hit apply. Go back to Google Earth. It's asking me if I want to reload it because we've already got one in here, and I want to hit yes. And that looks a lot better. So it really was that simple to bring it into Google Earth. You can do this with control points if you know control points are on a state plane coordinate system. I can show that on a different project I was looking at today. I did the same thing, brought it into Google Earth. So it's really that simple. There's a lot more that I don't know about KML files and their ability. You can actually screenshot an image and bring it right into Google Earth. In that same image capture command. Capture. That also makes a KML file. I'm going to see what happens if I try to bring that surface in. So I'm just going to turn that surface on, select it. Just going to see what happens when I... Okay, it says it can't export it. So it only supports certain things. So this will be a quick example of a really good practical use for this feature. So I was in this file earlier. I wanted to see where the control points were, or at least help the contractor to see where they are. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to settings, coordinate system, change, pick one that I just used. So now I'm in the correct coordinate system. Zoom back in. I'm going to cheat, and I know which layer I was looking for. So I did this earlier. So I want to bring these into Business Center, see where these control points were. So I'm just going to highlight all these. I already picked my coordinate system. I'm going to go to Images, Google Earth, hit Apply. Google Earth asks me if I want to reload. Hit yes. It's going to take me to a different part of the state. And these are the control points, possibly. So there's a 60 penny nail buried somewhere over there. I can believe that. Let's hope this is a mag nail. Looks like that was a base. That was with a base station. That's probably not there. This is probably a mag nail. Nope. That must be off to the side. 60 penny nail. So you could use this on your phone. This KML file. Find your control points to initially find them. Get you close. So that's all I wanted to show tonight. Real simple. That's how you get. And the only reason those control points worked, seemingly worked, was because those control points were in the state plane coordinate system that I picked. So. So yeah, that's that. Real simple, quick, easy, good feature with Business Center. There's a lot of uses for it. Use it every few days probably. It's just one button and it'll go over to the. It'll bring into Google Earth as a KML, and I'm learning a lot more about what I can use for a KML, but I'm using it a little bit more. The basics are definitely good enough for most stuff that you would need to do. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully, if you didn't know that feature existed, you can tap into that. Very handy, and you can take that file and copy that KML file. You can bring it right into your phone and put it on your in Google Earth on your phone, and you can actually walk up to some of these points and look at some of this stuff within the accuracy of your phone. So, all right, thanks for any of you that tuned in. Any questions? Put them in the chat box. If not, I'll be wrapping up in a couple minutes here. I'm gonna do one more quick thing. Show up what a plan sheet looks like brought into Google Earth. So there's one more quick use of that. Using the capture feature, you can see that image. I don't know if the transparency would work. I can try that real quick. No, doesn't support transparency. But we could even bring an image into Google Earth. So just a couple more tips for Business Center. If you haven't seen those before, hopefully you learn something. And I'll have a topic for next week, and I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.